council. None of that is set in stone. It was just, again, a way to get the conversation started. So I think in general, we get 3 projects. I think they can be, I think they're looking for projects between like 50 and 100 grand each. That's kind of the range that they're looking for. I mean, if we had one big project that kind of cover that I think they would go for that as well. But in general, that's kind of what the main points they hit on during the training that they did was 3 projects, 50 to 100. Yeah.
So the purpose of this meeting tonight is to identify and pick 3 projects?
I mean, in general, it's to get input from the community to make sure that we're reflecting what the community wants. So that's the main purpose, just for the public to have a chance to kind of give their opinion, but then it would ultimately be up to council to decide what the projects were, so.
2 hearings. So.
And we have to have 2 hearings, yeah. So this is basically just kind of checking the box that we can apply.
We have to have a second hearing on this then?
Mm-hmm.
No, that's new.
The second hearing,
Yeah.
is it? I don't know.
What? The second hearing is the second council meeting this month.
Did we do 2 hearings before? I know the last time we did it was during COVID, so it was just, it was all electronic.
We have to have 2 hearings, and the county already knows the dates because they post them publicly too, so they need to know when we're having 2 meetings. And we've already established it's gonna be the 2 meetings in April because the request for this is due, I think, on April the 30th, the last day of April. They want enough time in between so that there's input, anybody else who would want to call in, email or whatever, so that we had enough time to reflect and investigate more on anything.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Mr. Redding, you have a question?
I just have a few questions, because some of this I'm forgetting. So the total here is $395,000 for 2024 through 2026.
Right?
I think last time we got, what, $130,000 or somewhere in that area? Do we know already what the breakout is for Mount Healthy? Do we know what we're getting from Hamilton County for Mount Healthy already, or?
No, I mean, that's what this process is. So we'd kind of come up with some items. I would discuss it with the county, just make sure that they're on board with it. We might have to.
So but there's a chance we might get the whole 395.
No, I mean, in general, they're wanting 3 projects.
3 projects.
One big one.
So maybe we
okay.
could put, I've got 4 facade improvements. I was just trying to be as specific as possible on this list. I think when we apply, just looking at previous applications, we did the facade in the last cycle, and we just put facade improvements in the Hamilton Avenue corridor. We didn't have to say exactly which building it was, because we were gonna solicit each business and see we weren't sure who would want to do it.
That was going to be one of my questions.
Maybe we
Can
combine
we
them
just
all
put,
into one. Yeah.
combine them all into one and
Yeah,
put
and same
facade
with the
improvements?
parks. I mean, like, I think an ADA ramp would be great. There's the RC track. Maybe there's a way to combine those into one. I don't know how. Yeah, I'm not sure how specific the county wants us to be. Like, are you going to use this
Okay.
for 1 project in your park, or 2 or 3? I mean, but yeah, to your point, I
Yeah.
think we could combine these.
And historically, correct me if I'm wrong, because you guys might remember, I think one year, one of the 3-year grants was totally for the park, because we did the stage one year.
yeah.
And we asked for, I think, 300,000, I thought. Maybe it wasn't. And we, each year, we had told the county what we were gonna do to complete
Yeah.
the whole picture.
Right.
Yes.
But we had to be specific with that, didn't we? I mean, we told them I think we had to be a little specific, and things changed, because remember what we thought, and then when we went and got specs, and then we got prices, things kind of changed, and the county works with us
The
on
county did
that.
work with us. I forget if
They
it
do.
was the actual concrete portion of the stage, or if it was the overhang or the shelter part of the stage, or, so, yes. But yeah, I was thinking if we only get 3, I'd see if we could roll them up as much as possible.
Well, and you were present with our meeting the other night. I mean, we learned from the facade grant, you ask for the money, and you're hoping it's gonna cover it.
Well,
And if you put it out individually, it kind of locks you in. And if you can say the block and kind of know how that's gonna work, I think it makes it a whole lot better.
Yes, definitely, because you might want to double all these numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got
So-
that right.
But,
Yeah.
okay,
And I did send out on Friday, I believe it was, the actual grant, what do you even call it here? It's the description from CDBG of what's eligible. It's 96 pages. I mean, it's got maybe 15, 20 different categories, acquisition of property, public services. We used it to cover our EMS services 1 year, or for a couple years. Just lots of code enforcement is on here. Lots of different ways that you can use it. And it describes in there, even within that category, expenses that are eligible and not eligible kind of thing. So, I mean, it can get pretty detailed in here.
And the code enforcement, we've found that a lot of municipalities have been using county money for code enforcement. Everybody's having an issue with code enforcement.
so, but when you say county money, is it specific
It's money.
CDBG?
Uh-huh,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna add that to my watch list, so.
Anybody else? Let's hear from all of you.
Yeah, come on.
I mean,
Jim?
Good evening, Jim Lodenberg, 1418 St. Clair Avenue. And I think that it's a good list. I would encourage you to think about what's on the list, and if any of those things are would be available from other places, maybe look at that first, since this is sort of a select project. And let's figure out what it can be used for. It seems to me that there's one area that's not listed on there, and I don't know if this is CDBG eligible or not, but the city's economic development sort of planning process is a bit scattered. I mean, as projects come up, it would be great to have a staff person whose focus is economic development, looking for people to move into the community, marketing, vacancies in the community, coming up with a plan. And so if that were CDBG eligible, it seems to me like that would be a great thing, great asset. And I don't know what the expense is for hiring a staff person, if it's full-time, part-time, or whatever, but over 3 years could have a great impact. So those would be my comments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Thanks, Jim.
How about you, Randy? Okay, come on, guys, ladies.
So I'll make a specific pitch. The park playground. Now, and when I say this, everything we're doing here, I don't want it to stop. I don't want to stop here at this, right? I mean, we may have some other opportunities in grant money, which Jim was kind of alluding to, that there's other grants out there, and just because, this we know we're going to get. So I think that the things that we want to make sure that we need to do, we use these funds. But to the degree that we use them, because the park playground needs to be addressed, right? I mean, we are doing it, I think, looking at this through a short term with all the work that Keisha's done, and we've got this here that we can pass around later at council. But I think we need to consider some amount to start working on that master plan for the park playground. I don't know if it's $100,000, I don't, but I think that's real important. In fact, I think, to kind of digress, by the 3rd of July, I would hope to see, and I think what Keisha has here is some equipment that we could get in before the 3rd of, and maybe even by June or May, which would not even be impacted on this, so.
I was going to say. I would like to see that move up the list.
That was specifically the park playset, number 10. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think it should move up.
I think it should be moved up the list.
Do you recall in the ODNR one, did they let you bring in other funding sources? I know there was like there's a city match, but could you bring in
I believe you can.
these kind of, I can't remember if they, have to look at it. But yeah, I mean, I think that's how you should do it. If you can bring in different revenue sources, be great.
I agree with that.
Mr. Bauer, bring me up to date on this number 7, the replacement or removal of the highlight mask. The high mask light. Where is that at? Which light are we talking about?
I'm sure Justin would know. Honestly, I forget which one it is.
It's on the
There's just
backside, I believe.
backside.
The tall lights that are not LED, they're just kind of hanging there.
Closer to Adams.
No, be closer to Assumption, on the Assumption side.
Yeah, that's a great
I think there's a pole right there.
Yeah, I'd have
It's
to
the old
talk.
football lights.
The old football
Oh,
lights.
geez.
Yeah,
So they're on wooden poles, I know.
I
what
think
you're
they're on the wooden
talking
poles, yeah.
about. Yeah.
Tell if that's. Yeah, I'd have to double check to know exactly which one it is, but yeah.
Well, it says here they're in danger of falling,
Mm-hmm.
so I would say that would be pretty important to us.
Right.
I don't know how bad that really is, but,
Could cost us more in the long run if it does fall,
yeah, oh, yeah.
or what damage it might do.
Right. These funds, right?
Yeah, it's not gonna happen.
Exactly right.
And the ADA ramp down into the park from the Veterans Memorial.
So that'd be right here. The only way, like if you can't do steps, the only way if you're on this street to get down there, you have to walk
Right.
all the way around.
Right.
So, I mean, it'd be nice to get one also down to the soccer fields as well, because there's not anything there, but I think this would probably be an easy first step. We've had JMA look at the one down to the soccer field. I think that's gonna be a pretty substantial build, just with how big the
The ramp
incline
that's
is.
there now, that's not ADA approved, it's too steep.
There is not a ramp here,
There's no ramp there.
but then there is one from the playground tier down to the gazebo tier. There's not one from the cannon down to the play set.
Okay,
There's, how many tiers are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, there are 4 tiers to the park, probably?
yes,
Yes.
There's really only one ramp.
okay. Do you know if this one that's existing, is that ADA approved? Is it 1 inch to 12? I mean, I have no
I
idea.
would imagine, honestly, I don't know.
Unless I would think it was put in
Well, that's what I'm
with the specs that, at the current time,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, is it that old, that ramp? I don't
No,
know.
not really.
It's not,
I mean, I would think it would
I mean,
be
it's-
up to specs, but I don't know.
it's not 30 years old or anything, 15?
Gotcha.
I don't know, time flies when you're
Yeah,
having fun, Joe.
yep.
Even that, oh, yeah. Well,
Well, I have to agree with a couple of you who said this, Keisha and Joe. The playground, if we can get it combined
Mhm.
with other source of money. So instead of $100,000, maybe it could be 50,000, we can still accomplish the same thing.
Sure.
Don't know if that's possible or not. But I would put that, place that high on the list. I don't know if you have these in order of importance or anything, but it's just.
Yep.
The ramp, I think, would be pretty important also. I'm kind of at that age where I can't do steps, so it's kind of personal. Okay, anybody else? Let's talk it up.
What about when you say they improve the facade of the studios, the dollhouse, what exactly does that entail?
Say again? I just didn't hear you.
The rehabs of the, like Precision Blends and the Karate Studio, when it says improve what exactly will that entail?
I think See, were you in there when Tom showed the facade for Angelo's? He had a big schematic with a picture of what it would look like. I mean, it's basically that, but just for additional buildings. We'd go through that process, we'd get quotes just to improve the exterior of the buildings downtown.
And some of those buildings, which, the city has, are falling apart. And so we're into almost a safety issue with some of those. And in order to improve that, to make it, attractive and something that I think that's what basically. When we're doing Angelo's, we're finding out the facade kind of goes deeper maybe than just facade. When you've got a building that has a lot of needs, you rip off something and then you've got another problem. You probably know all about this, Mr. Bittner.
Well, that building burned at one time, too.
Yeah, so-
Second floor come off of it. and-
Yeah.
So
I don't know,
it was-
Paul, do you want to address any of this with the facade and because you've walked around with some
Just asking
people that,
clarification. What
Yeah,
that
I mean, I think the facade, we found it with Angelo's, just doing Angelo's is double to what we thought, so you're at 50,000 just to do Angelo's. But there's some electric things and different things there on that. These other properties don't have some of that, the lighting and things on those properties, so. But everything's costing more and there's been a lot of, different people did different work, so pulling in different things, when they pull something off, it's just pulling out, going through decades of different
Different kind of remodels. huh?
different remodels, yep. So it's been a little bit of an adventure.
Well, and kind of my understanding of the process too, it seemed like it was hard to even get business owners to sign up for it. It's like, hey, we've got tens of thousands of dollars available to upgrade your business, but a lot of them were not the owners of the building. At least in this situation, we're the owners, and we know we really want to upgrade them, so.
we have an obligation. When
Yeah.
We've purchased that site years ago, and we've really done nothing to it, and it kind of mirrors some of the landlords we're complaining about in town. So, it's,
Yeah,
just what it
there's
is.
been people painting their buildings, we've asked them, hey, do you need help painting as far as money? No, we're good, so.
Yeah, there's
It's been
no high
hard to give money away
expectation.
for some of these things,
Right.
for some of those.
Once you get a couple of them done, though, like Angelo's and so forth, and they
Right.
see what's going on and it didn't cost them a whole lot of money,
Right, yep,
then I think maybe they'll start signing up.
yep,
That's what we're
exactly.
hoping.
That's what we're hoping for.
That's what we're hoping, that we're gonna see a real difference.
Better that there's no strings attached.
Yeah.
Yep.
Maybe that's the issue, is that they feel like there's some strings attached, maybe.
Well, we're learning, because when they were going up through town, we weren't gonna put money into a building that a landlord doesn't care about, and he's like, oh yeah, fix it up, and has no buy-in. So Steve, who owns Angelo's, has owned that for years. It's been a good business, it's a thriving business, and I know personally, through the community meal many years ago, he provided pizza almost every month, free of charge. So I know you've got a person here that's owned the business, lives in town, and so we thought, approach him. And, but in going forward, of course, this is different, but going forward with an economic development, you're hoping that some of the businesses will at least make a little match or something in the future. But that's a whole another economic development thing. This has to do with the property the city owns.
I think we need to be,
Do we need to pick priorities among this
I don't
list?
know,
So,
but I think what we need to be careful of is that we don't approve a bunch of money to improve the facades of certain stores that we own and don't do any for the private business people. I think you can get yourself in a sticky wicket there.
You could, you could, yeah, I think you could. But that was the issue kind of with the Angelo's thing, kind of working through that. And I, there's already some businesses saying, well, what are you gonna do for me? And when Angelo's starts, that's what we're gonna probably hear. And we wanna do something for people. So it doesn't deter you from doing something. Because if that deters you from doing something, we wouldn't be doing
Right,
anything. You know what I'm saying? But you're absolutely right. But the other argument to that, which I think Joe brought up, which was a good argument, is that what are the residents getting from, we purchased those buildings? What are they getting? Well, if they've just been sitting there and we haven't done anything, we really haven't done justice to buying those buildings. So how do we take that back to the residents? We say, hey, we're gonna put some money into this, and we're hoping we can bring in business or keep the businesses. We don't want businesses to leave, you know, we're not pushing businesses out. We're just encouraging, the business community. And some of the people in town that I've talked to that have put their heart and soul and money into their own business, they wanna see something happening, because that keeps them invested in their business too.
Well, it's interesting that local businesses now don't have to fight the malls because they're collapsing and being torn down, so.
Right.
Yeah, what comes around goes around, I guess.
That's right.
true.
It may have taken 50 years, Ross, but,
I know,
but it's coming back around, isn't it?
yeah, yes.
I guess my thought is we almost have to have we almost have to do this under two scenarios. One, if the county will let us lump these together into 3 groups, that would be one scenario of priority. And then the other one is if the county wouldn't let us, then we would want to put that, lump it together, and that's, under that scenario. So, and that way we got our bases covered, so.
I'm hoping I think they would work with us on this. I mean, one person from the county came out to look at what we were doing with Angelo's and was very, very encouraging to us, saying, we want to help you. You are a small city that we want to help. There's been a lot of criticism with county money that hasn't been flowing out. It's been staying down to the city of Cincinnati, and so they know this. And so anyway, I think they will work with us, but doing this tonight gives us homework to go back and say, hey, look,
Yep.
can we do this? Can we do that? Yeah.
So we have another hearing, so we know we don't have to have this list finalized, but I guess just to sort of reiterate what I'm hearing, I think in general, the park play set and that ADA ramp, I'll just see, hey, could we just put these amounts together? What's an amount that you think is reasonable for a park? If we asked for 150 or if it was 100, would that, how's that sound to the county? Code enforcement, I mean, are we on board with code enforcement? We didn't talk a ton about it, but
Well-
it seems, I know I've heard it offline a lot, but I mean,
Yeah, I'm
wanna be
just
one of our
wondering
3?
if we can do, so when we say code enforcement, what exactly are we talking about? Are we talking about property maintenance?
So
Are
we're
we talking about,
Yeah, so we're talking about, so right now, we have Bill Knight, he's part-time.
yes,
Whether we up the hours through that company or whether we go for someone else, I went out even on Easter Sunday, I was invited to my neighbor's house and I saw a gentleman picking up trash. I don't know how many people that I've heard from, and businesses too, that we do not enforce, and a person on Planning Commission said it. We don't enforce what we say we want to have done. We don't enforce it. And the one gentleman said, I was approached that maybe my grass was getting too high, but look at that across the street. Why isn't that addressed? He's absolutely right.
I've always
And
said
he's
that.
lived there for a long, long time. And so a lot of this, and we've been meeting with Bill, and Bill takes a lot of criticism, but he's got a log, and we're looking at how he needs to maybe work it differently, but every city's having problems with code enforcement. There are people, in Cincinnati, the trash that's just dumped in certain areas, apartment complexes, everybody's having the issue. And the county is on board with helping with code enforcement. So if we kind of know that's a guaranteed, and we need it, it's a 3-year bump up with what we've got now, which should help with other things when we're talking about economic development, when we're talking about the overall atmosphere of our community and how that impacts the quality of life that people are living. We've talked about that with the police chief a little bit. So,
okay.
Yeah, in general, I think it would just be increasing capacity.
Yeah.
Again, Bill Knight gets a bad rap sometimes, but
Yeah,
we're
he-
probably paying for half of a code enforcer. So, if you only have half of a
I mean,
code enforcer, of course you're gonna get
He's only working
frustrated.
16 hours a week for us, right?
Right.
mean-
And that's because of budget constraints, right? It's
Yes.
not because he's,
So-
that we don't want to use him, but yeah, a lot of it is, again, this would just help us increase capacity that we could identify those issues more. And
So, okay.
And then the third, I get, are we high on the facade again too? Is that sort of the third one? I mean, it does not have to go to the properties I have listed here. These were just to try to give specific examples, and then,
I
you know,
think we
we can
should.
kind of change it and make it more general when we
I wouldn't
apply.
mind seeing a-
I think we should, because that's
certain
what the
amount of
first
money
things you
set
see
out
when you
for
come
Mm-hmm.
in the city.
And I mean, what I've seen other cities do, a lot of places get these facade improvements. They do the same exact thing that we're doing. They will ask for a match from the business owner to, again, increase the value of that grant. Say, hey, it's 50% match, we'll give you 20 grand, but you kick in 20. So then you're causing 40 grand worth of improvements to your business district, or, you know, whatever district it is. So, I mean, we could think about that too, where, you know, definitely open it up for the first year to see who's interested. But if we run into the same issue and no one wants to take it, you know, no one wants to invest in their business, well, then we'll just, I think, do the ones that we own.
I have a question about the RC track stand.
Mhm.
Could that be lumped in with the parks, since that's a part of the park?
Yeah, let me move that here.
Don't we have a bunch of those aluminum stands yet? Or are they trash?
They want something a little bit more elaborate.
Yeah, they've been using the stands, the
Yeah.
aluminum stands. I think they just either turn them around backward, I don't know, they do something, they stand up on that to,
So they can, they
Better
want to be
vantage.
able to move around too and watch their
Yeah.
cars and.
there's some pretty fancy ones that you can get. I mean, I think the one Justin quoted was $30,000 to $35,000. It's aluminum, it's, you put a concrete base, I mean, it's permanent structure, but it's aluminum, so it'll last forever. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty nice. Make us a destination for
Yeah.
RC
That's what I
tracks
was
of all
thinking, if
things,
we
who would have thought, but
include
yeah.
that with parks.
Yeah, I'm even wondering, talk to the county about maybe moving code enforcement in with facade improvement or with streetscape or something, because
'Cause they can
it
all
kind of,
come together.
you know,
Go
just try to
together.
have that conversation. Maybe they would agree, maybe they wouldn't, but there is an argument there.
Yeah, and I wouldn't mind doubling those numbers on facade improvement. That way
Yeah, I mean,
some may come in under, but
right.
if we're allowed to lump, then go after it, right?
Yeah, but if we had three, you know, I mean, I think in general you go for as high as you can at first. I mean, they're just gonna tell us to tailor it back, you know. I'll submit it to them before the actual due date, and I mean, they've done that before. I know Bill did that with the county. He'd kind of walk them through what he was thinking, and they would help him tailor it. So, I mean, we can ask for 100 grand for everything, and they say, let's cut it back to, I don't know, whatever. They'll help us through it.
We just got notification of a new grant, grant opportunity, didn't we? We haven't looked into it yet. At economic develop, it was some kind of an economic,
Yeah, I feel like I know what you're talking about. What
I
was
know.
that?
We probably need to look at that because it could be other opportunities too, so.
Okay, if there's any way you can sneak in the traffic calming, number 9, with some extra sets of the humps that can be moved around, you know. If we can get the county to buy them,
Right.
Yeah.
Were we gonna use some of that, streetscape grant money?
Yeah, if we, if there was room in the streetscape, because we're approved for 70, I believe, and we're gonna use 50.
So we were talking about using some of that extra money that we already have.
Yeah, I've got to
For
talk
that.
with the county. I mean, if that's, I guess that's kind of a question too for the previous project or the current project. Is that what we would want to use the leftover money for? Is it
Speed bump,
buy a speed hump? I mean,
if we can.
I mean, if it's, you're talking about previous projects, right?
yep.
So if there's, probably if it's a small dollar, they're not gonna care.
I forget how much, Melanie, do you recall what Justin said the price was of those speed humps? It was like 10 or 15? 10 or 15,000, so I think we could fit another one in there. If it's 50,000 for the study, 20 left, yeah, could probably get another one. We'll look into it.
okay, council, anybody else have any comments they'd like to make? Anybody out in the audience? You don't get this opportunity often.
Well, we're doing it again next meeting.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, everybody had their say? And I will close this meeting, public hearing. And we'll move on now with our council meeting. So if you'll please stand for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. Lord, we ask you to preside over our meeting and our labors, and to bless all of our endeavors. Help us build a community united in harmony of love and service. Watch over our families at home, at work, and at school. We thank you, Lord, for everything that widens our knowledge and equips us more fully for the task of life and living. Give us the knowledge and prudence which will enable us to live our lives well. Teach us to know our own weaknesses that we may ever be on our guard against them. Teach us to know our own strengths that we may use to the fullest the gifts and talents which have been given us. Help us to share the loving concerns for each other at all times. Above all, Lord, help us to really know you, for it is the beginning and the end of all wisdom. This is eternal life. Amen. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty
and justice for all. Okay, thank you and welcome to April 2nd council meeting. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Lingo?
Here.
Mr. Parsons? Mr. Redding?
Here.
Mrs. Dosa?
Here.
Mr. George?
Here.
Mr. Young?
Here.
Mrs. Rissel?
Okay, we have two persons absent today. I
Make a
would
motion.
request that somebody make a motion.
Make a motion to excuse Mr. Parsons and Ms. Rissel.
Okay. We have a
Second.
motion on the floor to excuse our absent council members, and seconded by Mr. Redding. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. You have before you the minutes from the March 19th meeting. Jenny, your name is spelled wrong, correct?
Yeah, that's
Yes.
Anybody else have anything they need to bring up?
Is that just in the council agenda? Did you see it?
Yeah,
somewhere
that's
else?
no, it's in the council agenda, I guess. You don't have to worry about it then.
I noticed, I was here, but my name's not in the roll call for present. Guess it didn't happen.
Okay, we have to add Mr. George.
Add me to the roll call.
We have a second, or if it's not there, it doesn't exist.
Okay, council, anybody like to make a motion to adopt as corrected?
Make a motion to adopt the minutes as corrected.
Mr. Young has made a motion to adopt. Do I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Lingo? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Correspondence, I have no correspondence other than what was in your packet and on your desk. Does anybody else have any? Okay, guest and special events, none. Public input, anybody like to address council? Okay. Mayor's report, Mrs. Moody.
Yes. First of all, I do want to address the school district crisis that they're in. It is extremely serious. I received correspondence from the State Department of Education. There will be a commission set up, an independent commission. I'm to approve one person, and then the mayor and the State Department approve people to this commission. If you do know of anyone that is a district resident that has a financial background, that would want to have it be a 3-year commitment, Mr. Redding, I was interested in the comments you made before our meeting tonight. Also, a district parent whose child would be in the district for 3 years, they're looking for, that also has a financial background. This will be a commission that will oversee the current situation. The current situation is, very drastic. And when the auditors came in, they were pretty much, everything just kind of came about suddenly, which it shouldn't have been sudden. And so they're pretty much trying to figure out, most school districts, it's a progression. And then you ask for money, like they need money now. So this is, I've been told that there's a certain, believe the school district met in special meeting last night, and they formally asked for the request from help from the state. So it's a process and has to be done in a certain way. So I'll be sending a resume and a cover letter for who I would appoint. They'll review all of these, and then they'll come up with a commission, and they've got to do it pretty quick. So once the state sends me the notification, I have 15 days, and 15 days seems like a lot, but for them to pull this together is a pretty big ask for the state right now. Why did it happen this way? I mean, they have insight right now, I think, for when the auditors went in. It's just, for me, as a past employee of the school system and as a resident for a long time, my first reaction is I feel bad for kids. I feel bad for the families. I feel bad for the residents, that this had to be the way it is right now. I did watch the school board meeting, the end of the March one, and saw teachers get up that were very emotional, very upset, and some of them I have known for years. And so a lot of people were pretty much blindsided by this. So we'll see. I believe it's all going to work out. But there are a lot of questions out there, and that's why this commission will be set up. The state will come in. The state is, I don't think you can say that the state's technically taking over the school district. I mean, they kind of are. There's a lot of rumors out there that it's going to be merged with another school district. That's not going to happen. I mean, at least not now. So I believe that this, hopefully good things will become of this, but for right now, it's really serious. And so, I mean, we've been back and forth with the lady from the State Department for the last week and a half. It's taken a lot of time, but it's good. And so if you know of anyone, if anybody's watching and knows someone who has a financial background that lives in the school district and give a 3-year commitment, I mean, she said it'll probably be 3 years. Now, of course, somebody gives a 3-year commitment, and if something happens, you know, that, I mean, things like that happen, but they're looking at a 3-year commitment for this commission. Okay? On a good note, I saw that we had some students that were involved, elementary students, in the Pro Scan tournament, which is a really big chess tournament. And I was really excited about it because when I was involved in education, I really was interested in making kids, having kids enjoy the process of learning chess. And we do have a number of adults that come in and especially play chess over at Fibonacci. And I reached out to the teacher from South because these kids, some of these kids, there was a first grader that ranked in this tournament. So it would be nice to get the names if these kids would want to come up to the park in the summer and we could have chess sets up there and be able to encourage maybe what some of these kids have been able to accomplish. Chess games are inexpensive, and when you have kids that have starting to love chess, I think it's pretty impactful. I have talked to Jacqueline from the Alliance that maybe in the future some of these things that we can join with the Alliance Youth Program to encourage some activities like this for kids in our neighborhood. So we're looking at the playground, which is great, but to look at these opportunities. So I've reached out. When I saw this, I was pretty impressed that these kids actually, you know, participated, which is great, and had a ranking. First year. I met with Aaron Horsley today, and we talked about the wetlands, but we also talked the We Thrive grant that he got, trying to work through how that grant works and other grants from We Thrive. I was not able to go to the last We Thrive meeting, but they did have a data points that they came up with, reflection of our community, which I think will be helpful maybe when we're looking at grant opportunities or other information that we need in economic development. I'm not sure how that matches up with our Hilltop study. The Hilltop study, I think, is still relevant, but you know, when it comes to economic development or what we need in our community, since we've had COVID and gone through all that, I think some things have changed, so maybe we'll need to look at how relevant some of our data, past data is. I've been reading, I like to read, but sometimes, reading a zoning code is pretty difficult. And so I'm trying to get through that. And thanks to Dave Osterday, who happens to be on our planning commission and also is one of our community members, been working on Third Century. He just gave me a contact for architectural review information, and I've reached out to a couple people, so I'm still working through all that information. I've been grateful to have been a part of the opportunities to, some meetings have been held. I know Paul's been involved with some of them, that I've been able to meet some people in the county that are bringing forth some information to us on economic development, and I'm just appreciative that I'm able to learn about what's out there as we're all trying to work through all of this. And again, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the code enforcement. So I've, kind of met sporadically a little bit with Bill Knight, and trying to just get an understanding about what his job entails and what we need to do in order to support what we're dealing with, in our community. And again, I want to state that the Architecture Review Board, what we're looking at is the core business district. I think there's some rumors out there that we're going to tell somebody what color they can paint their door of their house, what color we're not doing that. There are some communities that do that. Yeah. They go out and they have a established guideline as to what they want houses to look like. We're not doing that. So I don't want anybody to get upset that I'm changing their lifestyle or the way they want their house. We're looking at this for the core business area. Okay, and that's it.
Thank you, Ms. Moody. Questions? No questions for the mayor? All right, you get off easy, Jenny. City Manager's report, Mr. Bauer.
Yeah, got a few things here. On the fire department, I won't steal any of Steve's thunder here, so I'll just a couple items here. You've got we'll do the first reading on the full-time contract. There was one change. I'll bring it up when we get to it. Just one number that it was an error on my fault, but give an update on that so we can vote on that. It's good. Part-time contract. It sounds like the part-timers voted yes on the contract. I'm still kind of waiting for the formal documents to be able to put it into an ordinance to put in front of you. I'd hope that would be tonight, but I would imagine it would be at the next meeting. Let's see. One thing I wanted to bring up for the fire department, I have a proposal for, and I think I emailed this either today or yesterday, the Ohio Fire Chiefs Association. I think it would be very beneficial to the fire department to have an organizational assessment performed. Just the last 20 years, we've gone from volunteer to part-time to full-time. It's been a big change for the department, and just think that it would be, and I've discussed this with Chief Lawson, that I think it'd be really beneficial just to have some outsiders just to look, see what are the priorities we should have. Do we have the right policies and procedures in place? It seems to me that we have things in good order, but again, just with the amount of changes that we've gone through, it just seems like it'd be a good thing. I sent out the proposal to everybody. There was an example that they provided. What was it? I keep wanting to say Vidalia. It's not what it is. Whatever the example is, but it's like 150 pages. They go over everything related to the department, your equipment, your staffing, the community. They get input from the actual department, from council, from management, from residents. It's just all encompassing. I think it would be really beneficial. So this would, and on top of that, this would be outside of the budget. So I'm ultimately looking for a motion to go forward with this. It's $23,000. I think that would be money well spent. Happy to answer any questions or set up a meeting with the Ohio Fire Chiefs Association. Person we've been talking to is actually the former chief of Coleraine. Great guy, very well respected. Could set up a meeting if anyone wants to know in further detail, but looking for approval from council to go forward with this. And I don't know if that would be a new business or old business, or
We can do it right now, or
Okay.
if you want to discuss it.
if there's questions, happy to answer them now, or
I guess I'll throw one out. Mr. Lawson, you think this is a good idea for your department?
Yes.
You're in favor of it?
yes,
Okay.
What'd you say the cost was again, Scott?
23,000. I don't know exactly the timelines. I mean,
I don't think you
there-
necessarily need our permission for that, do you?
it just seemed the prudent thing to do.
Well, I don't disagree with you, but there's a certain amount of money you can spend
Right,
without.
yeah. I mean, we don't have to get this quoted publicly or anything like that, but it is technically outside the budget. And just, I mean, if not framed properly, it can look like a bad thing. I just, this is all for the good and think it'd be beneficial. Yeah, just trying to be as transparent as possible, so.
Wonderful. Council, what's your?
Sounds like a good idea, I trust it.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think so.
I think so.
100%, go for it.
I don't know how you're gonna break it to Bob, but
With Bob, yeah. That's why I waited for him to be, I actually did talk to him personally. He said he was in favor of it. I mean, he can say it himself when he's back, but yeah, he was in favor of it as well. I mean, I guess just to make it, would you be kind enough to give a formal motion, just to, isn't that, someone needs to actually make the motion, or can they just?
Yes, somebody could make the motion.
Gotcha.
So the motion,
Two, and then.
To accept the Ohio Fire Chief Association's proposal for an assessment, basically.
Sure.
I make a motion to accept the Ohio Fire Chiefs Association Fire Department Organizational Assessment for $23,000.
I'll second.
Okay. Mr. Redding has made a motion to adopt the said motion. Ms. Lingo has seconded that. Any questions, comments? Does that need a roll call, Melanie?
No, just an aye.
All those in favor of said motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried, sir. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. Think that will be a great process to go through. Let's see, I think that was pretty much it for fire. I'll leave the rest to Chief. Police Department, still working on the nuisance ordinance for Werner. We've submitted everything to Scott Solman. Just all the runs that we've had to make there and the issues we've had. So that's getting put together. Chief wanted me to just mention that we're sending Pastor Whaley and Pastor Washington to chaplain training. That's grant dollars, or it's either a free class or we got grant dollars to pay for it. And one of our officers, Officer Spears, is also going as well. So just to expand the chaplaincy program. Let's see, road updates. I know Forest and Madison started at least last week, cutting into the streets. I'd hoped the northern section of Harrison would be started, but hopefully within the next couple weeks, they'll be cutting into the streets as well. We did already have the pre-construction meeting, so I mean, everything's been set and lined up. We've talked through everything, so it's just whenever they can kind of get the materials and all the labor lined up. I think you know about all these other projects. Werner was formally accepted by the OPW. I think last time it was pre-accepted. Now it's formally accepted. And we actually now start the process for the next projects to submit for. So SORTA is due May 30th, so we've got a couple months here to talk with GMA. Maybe we'll have a street committee or something called here in the next month, and they can come and talk us through the different streets that may be eligible. Let's see, building inspections. Talked with Bill Knight. Basically, it's assessment season. Now that we're into the spring, you get high grass. With the wintertime, if someone has an issue with their house, you can't tell someone to paint their house, in December, basically. So now there's no excuses. So I guess it'd be, hopefully people will get their act together and actually mow the grass, but we'll probably be seeing some assessments here soon. I did update the gas aggregation quotes. It seems kind of everything's leveled off at 5.5 cents there. But again, the consultants recommend waiting towards the end of the year, so we still have months to really worry about it, but
Electric aggregation?
gas.
Gas, okay.
Yeah, we did the first 12 months already, are locked in. But we separated into two 12-month chunks.
Yes, I'm sorry, I did forget that, okay.
So this is for the second 12-month, which we have, I
Chunk.
think technically until February or March to lock it in of
Okay.
2025.
Okay.
So, again, their recommendation is to wait through basically the rest of the year, just to kind of see where everything, which way the rate goes, but those have been updated. I did sign everything with Human Nature. That's the streetscape Hamilton Avenue study that's supposed to be done. So we should be developing a steering committee, and they're going to kind of let me know what the next steps are to get that process going. I feel like I forgot something. I think that's... Oh, I've created a spreadsheet I kept hearing how there used to be this binder that had the committee meeting minutes in it. So it's out there on, I think I've got it on the council drive. I'll check and double check where I have it saved. But I'll kind of send it out to people, and if you see one of your committees that's missing off the list, I kind of had to go off memory a little bit. If we had a committee, and then I try to put a little sentence as to what was discussed. So the idea is that we'll be able to have a nice big spreadsheet that you can go back and look at,
And then we
a
all
couple
have to
sentences for
sign
each
it.
meeting, just what was talked about.
Attend
The-
meeting
We
Yes,
used to.
I'll sign them
it was
too.
filled out by the
to the committee chair.
committee chair.
Gotcha.
Yep.
So I think, that'd be the intention. I'm not sure the last time that was used.
Been a long time.
It's been a while, and yeah,
I think I
So, I
chaired
mean-
safety last time I used it.
okay.
And that was
But-
a few years
In
ago.
fact, there used to be binders out,
Yeah, out there.
separate binders for each.
So, and if we want to go back to that system, that's fine. This is kind of for my own personal edification, just to kind of look at what things have been discussed over the past year and a half since I've been city manager. So if we want to use a spreadsheet, that's fine, or if we want to go back to the binders, if that's easier to just kind of handwrite it in there. Either way is fine, but I have it out there. I'll double check exactly where I have it saved, but just wanted to let you know that was out there. And I think that's all that I have. Yep.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Bauer. Move on to the departmental report. Mr. Lawson, Fire Chief.
Yes. So January, February, March, everybody should have received the month reports. So lump sum, we had 496 EMS calls and 66 fire, which comes up to 562 total incidences. So that's how I got on that. Scott, did you bring up about the AFG grant?
I did not.
So we submitted a grant for the, replace our pumper. So that has been submitted. So hopefully we'll hear something midsummer if we received the grant or not. So that's all I have. Anybody have any questions?
I have a couple of, question. Steve, I always forget this. EMS units responded. There's an M74 and an S74. I'm
Yeah.
assuming,
M is for Medic 74, which is our station number, and then S is Squad 74. So the
Which is-
squad is our second out squad, or ambulance.
so am I assuming that there's not a medic on the second squad?
There could be,
Could be.
but being that we can't guarantee it, we call it a squad.
Okay. And then of the 171 runs, say for the month of January, just to make
Mhm.
sure I'm reading this right, of the 171, only 107 were transported?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay, thank you, sir. That's,
Mhm.
Anybody else?
I'd like to ask a question.
Yes.
I want to know, is there a gap between people that are calling for EMS services that don't have any connection to any healthcare facility and they just want to go to the hospital? The reason I'm asking is I met with the CEO of Healthcare Connections, and they wish they had more people come to them. And they're going to be opening up a pharmacy and a vision center. And we talked about trying to have people that don't want to depend on the EMS for their care and try to be coming to like Healthcare Connections. Do you see that out there at all much?
There is programs out there, it's called paramedicine, but that usually takes a firefighter or a paramedic away from day-to-day operations.
No, I was,
'Cause it's-
yeah, but I was just wondering if some of your calls could be related to them not having a contact with a doctor on a regular basis.
No, I think it's
Okay.
it's more transportation. They
trying to
just
get
don't
there.
have a way to
To get down
get
there.
down there.
Yep, okay, got
Okay,
it.
so, but that's part of it though, right? I mean,
I would think so too, yeah. I mean, if they need to get down to the hospital, you would think they'd be calling EMS because it's an emergency and it's a life-threatening thing. But if it's just to transport themselves down there because they have a medical issue
right, or a doctor's
sometimes-
appointment.
for an appointment or,
They, well,
I know it's hard to determine, and we
Yeah.
have to answer, but, you know, when they were telling me that they wish they had more people coming to them, the statistics are that when you're going to a healthcare connections facility like that on an ongoing basis, you don't need to rely on an EMS transporting you down to
Yeah.
a hospital.
So,
let's get together and maybe I get the information and
She would
we
love,
could
she would
hand
love
that
to
out
talk to you, and she gave me a bunch of information
Okay.
that maybe you could hand out to someone. You don't have to tell them. I don't want them to feel like, we don't want to answer your call,
Mm-hmm.
but look at what all is just here in your neighborhood that you might really want to connect with.
Yeah, we could do that with the senior homes.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, I went through their facility, and they've got dental, they're going to add vision, and they'll have pharmacy, and they will deliver. Their pharmacy is going to be delivering, too. So it's pretty impressive.
Can't find it.
yeah,
Okay.
I'm following what you're saying, Jenny. So we have some frequent flyers, right? Now, they may have major emergency medical reasons to go to the hospital, but if
Right.
they just need a ride to the hospital because they don't have a doctor, that's 5 minutes. That's
Right.
Right.
getting downtown or getting to either south or north is 25 minutes, so,
And with Metro Now,
yep.
Yeah.
it's costing
That's-
$2.
Yeah.
But they could be transported right to Healthcare Connections. And what I'd like to work on, and Joe was helping me on this, is the fact that we have a bus stop near there. It sure would be nice if we could have where that green space is, a place where the bus could stop, people had shelter, and it would be a way to get there too in a safe manner and get to wherever else, because 16's a pretty good run with 17. So it's a lot of those different connections. Okay, thanks.
No, I think, Jenny, but about what we were talking about and getting the connections with MetroNet, I think that's something else that I wasn't thinking about that I think we need to, I'll circle back with CMHA.
Sure.
So,
Yep.
Jenny, you said you spoke with them. Is there a way to get that information so that we can maybe put it on the school, city's website or get it out to the community so that they know that these services are now available?
Yeah, they gave me a lot of flyers, and so I need to get them out there. And you're absolutely, I mean, we need to get the word out. And they have healthcare centers at the schools, but it's not working, I don't think, the way it could work, because they don't want the families to go there, they just want the kids to go there. And in some, I just know this from experience with the woman, the woman that was staying with me from Ukraine. Some of the services, I had to go to that River Academy or what down on near 50, River Center Academy. And there, in those public health, all families are welcome, even in the schools, for some of that. So I think there's just some things we need to work on, but we've been in touch with the CEO, Dr. Jolene Joseph there, so we'll work on it.
Because that could be something like, we did it with the schools. Remember, we were telling them about the services. We did a blast, so we could probably do that again with the schools and with the library and We
Yeah, with
Thrive.
the library opening up for sure, yeah. Okay, thanks, yeah.
Just thinking of ways to get that information out
Yeah,
there.
we need to get it out.
Okay, we done with that? Thank you, Steve.
I like the way you ended that one, Ross.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know.
We're done with that.
People kept talking.
I know.
Okay, going to move on to ordinances and resolutions. We do not have any second readings on either one. We do have a first reading of an ordinance. It's ordinance number 24-2042. An ordinance authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement between the city of Mount Healthy and the International Association of Firefighters, Local 5403, representing a bargaining unit of city employees in the classification of full-time firefighter.
So I put a new executive summary on everyone's desk. The only change you'll see on the second page, I highlighted Article 17, the amount of paternity and maternity leave. I had it listed as 96 hours in the contract I showed you in executive session. It should be 120. That was my fault in that error. So that's the only change. And we kind of went through it in executive session. If you have any other questions, happy to answer the best I can, or I can get you more information between now and the next meeting. But seems like a good contract. It'll keep us I mean, we're still kind of towards the bottom of the pay scale, but I feel like they're pretty competitive wages. Always worried about the budget. We'll make it work. But in general, seems like a good contract. The union has already voted for it. In general, I think there's a conclusion at the end here. We've met all of the State Employment Relations Board. They kind of govern all this stuff. We had to have presented it within a certain amount of time, and it needs to be passed within 30 days of presenting it. So as long as we pass it by the next meeting, we're good to go.
Okay, questions, council? No,
And if we do not pass it, then it's back to fact finding. Please don't make me do it. That's what you want, I'll do.
But a first reading tonight would satisfy
Yes, sir.
the needs for the timeline?
Mhm.
What would you like to do, council? First reading?
First reading.
First
Okay.
reading, please.
Date of first reading is 1/2/24. Okay, that is all the resolutions, ordinances that we have tonight. We go to old business. Says on the agenda, we have none. Anybody have any old business? New business, council.
Sorry. Under new business, I know there's been some questions about, I know I've had discussions with other council members about our zoning ordinance, and not zoning ordinance in particular, but something that would fall under zoning, and that is some of the business properties have been subdivided or subleased, and the square footage on those, I kind of question in our business area. So I was just wondering if there was, and I know we don't have a building and zoning committee, but I was just wondering if we should maybe have a short-term one or something to look at, how some of the businesses are dividing up their commercial square footage. If we should have a minimum square footage of what that looks like, the minimum requirements for office space, things like that. And maybe potentially a 6-month moratorium on any subdivision of office space until we can look at that under zoning. So just throwing that out there for folks, for council to see what their thoughts are about that. So,
I think it's a good idea.
I can definitely put it before Bill and Gordon, just to kind of get their general opinion, but if you wanted like an ad hoc committee kind of thing because I'm sure I could get them to come to a committee meeting or something like that, or is that what
yeah.
you're talking about as well?
Yeah,
Just to talk it through.
and-
If you would want their opinion.
yes, definitely.
Bring them
Because,
into it.
I know Gordon works
Mhm.
for Sharonville,
Harrison.
Harrison, I always do.
I think he did work for Sharonville one.
Okay, so,
Yeah, I think we could probably start a list. This is one, and maybe there's some other things, and especially as I've been reading through the zoning code, and
Yep.
if anybody else would wanna, it's great, it's a good idea, it's a good thing to bring up.
so, okay, so, yeah, maybe we can ask for volunteers at the next meeting.
Yeah, I'll try to have kind of what their recommendation is, or just sort of what they think
Okay.
the status of it is, or what
3-year
they've seen in
commitment.
other communities, and kind of go from
Three-year
there. Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else under new business? We have a work session immediately following the city council meeting. Topics is parks. So Denise,
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Ms. Lingo has made a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Cordell has seconded the motion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion is carried. Meeting is agended, or,
New word.
meeting's over.